A late-night ritual for millions of people on both sides of the border comes to an end tonight. David Letterman is hosting his talk show for the final time, a job he's been doing for 33 years. That was Bill Murray singing his farewell to Letterman last night. Murray was the first guest to appear on Letterman's late night show, and he led the way for thousands more, big names and small. And a lot of Canadians made it onto the Late Show over the years, but not many got there as host. That happened to Tom Green in 2003. The Ottawa comedian had already started his own home run with his own show by then, and with just 24 hours notice, he got a call to fill in for Letterman. That was on June 13th, 2003. Tom Green joins us now via Skype from Los Angeles. Okay, tell me about the phone call. How does that go down?
Hi, Diana. How you doing? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, that was definitely an exciting day. I got a call from my manager at the time who said, "Tom, are you sitting down?" And I thought he was calling to tell me somebody had died. And he basically told me that I was hosting Letterman the next day, so I had to I basically started driving to the airport. I was in Los Angeles and had to drive to the airport right away and get on a plane and go to New York. So it was very exciting.
So you get there and you start, the prep that comes with getting ready for that show. Was there a moment in that day when you went, I don't believe this is even happening right now?
Sometimes I still don't believe it happened, actually. It really is one of these things that you sort of pinch yourself and you say, wow, I can't believe I got to do that. I grew up watching David Letterman. It was really my first experience with late night television. As a kid, we'd watch Johnny Carson, but I remember when we started to hear about Letterman. I was really young when Letterman started, but there was sort of a rumor at school. There's this guy on after Johnny Carson who does just outrageous things, and so he really kind of raised me and helped shape my sense of humor. And so when it was time for me to walk out on stage at the Ed Sullivan Theater and do that monologue there, it was like an out-of-body experience. It really felt like it wasn't happening.
Now, you also got to perform as a comedian on the show. You got to fill in as host. What was it like to interact with David Letterman? How was he?
Well, when I first went on Letterman as a guest, it was just literally weeks after my show had premiered on MTV, just weeks after I'd moved to New York. So, I was a wide-eyed Canadian kid. I was just amazed that all of these things were happening to me. I started my show on public access TV on Rogers Cable in Ottawa, and all of a sudden, here I was walking out onto the Letterman set. No, it was amazing. I remember sitting there on the set and looking at Dave as he asked me questions and just thinking, this really just doesn't feel like it was happening. And I was so nervous. I was such a nerve-wracking experience to be doing that and to be there sitting with him. My hero, my idol, really, somebody I grew up just really wanting to replicate everything he had, everything I saw him do. So it was amazing.
One of his gifts, certainly as someone who just watched him, like I and so many others did, but also what we've heard from people in these weeks leading up to tonight, was that he knew how to handle people who were like you, really new starting out, and then someone, the other end, say a Tom Hanks, who's incredibly skilled at doing the interview setup. What did you take away from the way he handled you, both from the very beginning of your career when you were on and then where you were in a state where you could fill in for him?
Well, he just couldn't have been more kind to me when I was on the show that first time. I don't know if he saw some sort of, he clearly saw that I was influenced by him, I'm sure. I brought on some of the pranks that I'd pulled on my parents, and we played them on the show. And I remember during the commercial break, he started laughing, and he leaned over at me and said, were your parents mad? Were they really mad? And we had a little conversation about that. I've had friends that had worked on the show, and they told me that, he doesn't normally talk to people during the commercial break. So that was pretty cool to have an off-camera moment with him. And, years later when I got to guest host the show, I actually didn't interact with him that day. I showed up at the studio and went in and did the show. And and didn't actually see him that day.
Well, we can hear you, but your screen is frozen. We're just going to keep going for a second, though. And I just want to ask you, I mean, as he concludes his career in this role, what's your takeaway, having watched him, and as you have your own show now, what does he do in terms of influencing you and the way you do your job?
Okay, can you see me now? Can you see me now?
I can still see you. You're just moving very slowly. It's quite skillful, actually.
It's the future. We're looking down the barrel of the future here. That's complicated. Well, sorry, what was the question then? I'm trying to fix it.
I'm just wondering, as you're doing your own job now and people sort of reflect on what he brought to the table as a comedian, as you say, he was doing things so differently at the very beginning. But what is your real takeaway from having watched him all these years?
It's just... he was just such an innovator. He did things that nobody had been doing on television, taking the camera out of the studio, getting into confrontational situations with people, taking a little bit of the shine off of TV and doing things a little bit more raw. And that's really what television has become. He kind of created a new kind of comedy. A strange place not having David Letterman on the air, a strange world not having David Letterman doing a TV show every night. But what an inspiration and what an amazing thing to have grown up watching him. We're lucky to have had him on TV while we were alive here on this planet.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think you and I are talking from roughly the same generation and really did watch him growing up. Thanks for joining us today, Tom.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate it.